Welcome to Quills and Chills. I'm your host, Rick Clifton, and I'm going to introduce you to the creators who give fear its voice. Together, we'll explore the strange, the unsettling, and the unforgettable. So go ahead and dim those lights because that conversation starts now. Hello and welcome back to Quills and Chills. I'm your host, Rick Clifton. Today, I am joined by novelist Elena Taylor, who is here to talk about her book, The Haunting of Emily Grace. Now, Elena has a background spanning theater and several mystery series, but her favorite place to be is at home at Paradise near Spokane, Washington. But today, I'm thrilled that she is here to talk with me. So, welcome to the show, Elena.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
As I said before we started, I absolutely loved this book. I got a chance to read it before the holiday break, and I went back and reread more of it because I'm like, it's just so great, like so many wonderful little moments. So
Thank you.
I'm very excited to dive in and talk. I have a lot of questions for you.
Yeah, good. I got a lot of answers.
Perfect. So let's start with the most basic question of all, though, is tell us what the book is about. Just a little bit about what the book itself is about.
I love this question because the answer, and this is true for any book, but this one even more so, I think, for me, is that books are always on two levels, right? And so on the one hand is the story. And on the other hand, the second level is the larger question that the author's grappling with, right? And so on the story side of things, and I'm not giving anything away because this is how the book starts, this female carpenter has been hired to do the finished carpentry in a giant mansion out on an isolated island. And she's just in a really difficult place in her life. And she's seeing this as a way to kind of start to recover. And so the book is about that journey. And it's suspense. So there's the backdrop of odd stuff happening. Is it real? Is it not real? What is she experiencing? When should she panic and leave? What is she sorting out sort of the mystery, right? And all of that. But what's underlying it and what makes it such a personal book for me is it is really about overcoming grief and dealing with grief. And a lot of people ask me where the story came from. And it's about the loss of a horse for me. And so there's not a horse in the book, right? It is not about overcoming grief of a horse. But where the heart part came from for me is that I had a horse that was rescued out of a kill pen. He was considered unsavable, both physically and mentally. And I rehabilitated him. And I had him for quite a while. Took me years to get him recovered. He became the most loving, amazing, wonderful horse you could imagine. And I worked with him every day for years. And I was riding him, and I had just started riding him outside of the arena. So he trusted me enough to be out. And we were in this incredible place. And he died in an accident caused by someone else.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And it was gut-wrenching. For those of you who are animal people, you can understand that. Yeah, that trauma. But it was compounded by how this was a horse that even when the vet first met him, when he came out of the kill pen, the vet said, I don't think this horse is going to make it. And here we were years down the road, and he was an absolute shining success story. And he and I had a bond like I've never had with a horse. And the loss of him was really staggering. And I couldn't talk about it for quite a while. I couldn't talk about it. Because it was so painful. And so when I started thinking about this book, and I'd always wanted to write suspense, and it's definitely an homage to Rebecca, the Daphne du Maurier novel of the crazy mansion and the what's going on and what's real and what's not real. It's definitely an homage to that. But it's also about a character who has faced something horrific, and she's learning how to come through on the other side. And so that's why I say there's really two levels to the book.
And those levels really come through for me in having experienced. I think, as you said, we've all experienced grief to some degree in our life. And I've had people that have been very close to me in the past that have passed away. I've had
Oh,
animals that I've been very close
yeah,
to that
yeah,
are gone. And I
yeah.
can certainly relate to it. There's a lot in this that just really resonated. And I don't want to say hit home because it didn't really hit me, but I understood it. I was familiar with it. And
Yeah,
it was like being home,
yeah.
if we had to say that.
I
So,
think it's that real universality of being human and that we don't
mhm.
get to be our age, don't get to be any age, but you don't get to be over 25 and not have come through something.
Right.
And I don't believe that things are ever over, but that we come to deal with it from a different place. We survive. We become able to go on, find whatever that replacement is, the love, the relationship, the fill in the blank based on your own experiences, but that things don't ever go away, but we shift in our relationship with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in talking about the main character, Emily, she arrives on this island. She arrives at this house to take on this job. And as you said, as you've explained, she's been already shaped by grief. And what I love about this is the story doesn't actually begin at the source of her grief. We come in sort of its aftermath of all of that.
Yeah.
And I'd love it if you could talk a little bit about figuring out where that right place to land in the story was for you when
Oh, what a
you sort of
great
figured out.
question. That is such a great question. I think going back to my own personal experience, part of it for me was I had to be past it before I could write about it. And so I think what I wanted was when we think about character development, your character starts here at the beginning of the book, and then they have an arc and they experience things and they come out up here, right? And there's this character arc. And I didn't want the reader to start with her going through the worst event of her life. I wanted readers to start with that being her baseline. So we come into the story with her baseline of, I have hit rock bottom and all I have is up, because the other option is I can't go on. And so that was where I really wanted to start. And so when we meet her in the opening scenes, she already knows she's gonna make it. So what we have to look forward to is, what does this new her look like?
Yep.
And so that was why it really starts. But that's such a great, nobody's ever asked me that. That is a great question.
So before we go any further, because you hinted at something a couple minutes ago that I really want to talk about.
Yeah.
But before I do that, we got to talk about this house, because this house, my God,
I love the house.
I could envision from the moment you started describing it, I could envision everything about this house. And I was like, I want to make a movie
I
in
do
this. I
too.
want to build this house. And it just was
Yeah.
really great.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you could talk a little about your approach to, I'm going to coin the term, building the architecture of this house
Yeah.
and this story.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
talking about that, but also there's a lot of elements that you brought in the story about green resources and all of that, which I loved, because we don't always get a lot of those in stories. Sometimes it just
Yeah.
rushes right through it.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, I think the house itself, it feels alive to me. It feels like it's watching her, right?
Yeah.
It feels like it's
Yeah.
such a, I hate to say it, but it's more than just a location, but it really is a character within itself. And I
Yeah.
was wondering if you could talk about shaping that and making it more than just a place that simply contains the story.
So first off, I'm thrilled to hear you say that, because I really felt that this house was a character, and in a lot of ways thought about it like I think about a character, in terms of what role does it play? What is it? What is her relationship with the house? How does it change over the course of the book? And so I'll give you a little bit of the background of where it came from. So my parents built the childhood home that I lived in, that I grew up in. And it was my first introduction to carpentry. So I'm 5 years old, and my dad's he was not a great carpenter, but he was determined to build this house. And he would start a row of nails, and I would go along behind him and finish them. So here I am, 4 or 5 years old, learning to put nails in.
I love it.
So I've done mediocre carpentry for a very long time. So the house down in Southern California, and it's built on poles that are 8 feet in the ground, telephone poles. And it's 2 stories, but the first story is 3 feet off the ground. So the house is anchored into the earth. So when I started creating the house for this book, I knew I wanted it anchored in to the earth. Now, my parents' house is not on a cliff. It's not cantilevered out over the water. It isn't any of those things. But I literally grew up building a home that was anchored into the earth. And so that is part of that. Then the second real life thing that's incorporated into the book is my grandmother lived on what's called the Strand in Los Angeles, and it's flat. There's no cliff or anything like that. But her living room window, which was a giant plate glass window, just the whole wall was glass, looked out on the ocean. And from the time I was, as long as I can remember, right? So I would say it started even at 2 or 3 years old, but certainly by the time I was in elementary school, I would have these dreams of the ocean coming up over that plate glass window, that I'd be standing in that living room. The water would rise. I would see through the glass, and the creatures, and then a crack would start up the glass. And I had that dream over and over again as a child. And so I'd always had this investment of the ocean coming up and over houses, and houses anchored into the earth. And so when I started writing this book, it all came together and coalesced into this house. I will also say, so I've done carpentry. I did carpentry in the theater. My joke is that my carpentry only has to last 6 weeks because I used to build for the theater. But I have real carpenters that I checked. I have an expert that I checked into, and I said, could you do this? Could you do this? So the house, technically, this is Juniper.
Hi, Juniper.
Hi, Juniper.
Juniper. I see the connection now.
She's named after the character in the book. She came into my life after the book was written. And so the house in the book could be built. It is legitimate. It could be built. I want someone to build it. It would be amazing to see. But I also, as I reference like the underworld at various points in the book and the idea. And so I wanted this sort of Eurydice into the underworld feel as well. And so all of that structural stuff, that architecture, bringing us down into the earth on this island surrounded by ocean, it made such an isolating experience. And that's what I wanted to capture. Yeah, that's what I wanted to capture. And then the last part of that is this idea of that there may be places we're not supposed to build. And that somebody with money might choose to do it anyways, and they might live to regret that.
Enter Cameron, which is actually my next question. I want to talk a little bit about Cameron and Cameron's missing wife. And I don't think it's a spoiler because this happens very early on. But,
it's very early on.
His wife is missing, and he's experiencing his own grief, and it intersects with Emily's in a way. And I feel like it complements, but it also complicates their ability to connect. And I wonder if you could talk about building that relationship around what each of them can or cannot face about their lives.
Yeah. And I like the way you said that about it. It's a way to connect, but also a complication. And it truly is, because they're both have endured something which has created a grief and sorrow in their life, but it's two such completely different things. And so there can almost be, I think, for Emily, I don't want to say envy, that's not the right word, but it's a little, we don't like to compare grief, right? Everybody has their own stuff. Right. But there was a little bit for her of, you have not endured as bad as what I have endured. And so that can create a little complication for her. He has something she wants, right? There's something still in his life that she wants. And so there's that. And there's also, I think, that reality of, on the one hand, we're drawn to people who can understand us, but we don't want to get dragged into their stuff when we're dealing with our own. So all of those things are exactly what you said. There's this complication, but it does allow Emily a certain level. I'm laughing because Juniper's now climbing up my shoulder. She loves to hang out when I'm on Zoom or when I'm being videoed.
We're four-legged friendly around here, so Juniper is always welcome.
She's the most loving.
And I heard dogs earlier too. So
yes, I know. Hopefully they'll stay in the other room. But I liked sort of playing with this idea of, we never know what the other person is going through. So here's Emily Grace assuming she's showing up. This guy's wealthy. He's got it made. And then she has to realize, oh, he's enduring stuff too. And simultaneously, Cameron, is she's just here to work for me. And then as he's learning her situation, he's forced to see her as more than that. And so they're thrown together in a way to explore that idea that we are all connected. We all have this humanity that if we are open to it, we can see in the other. And so those are some of the complications and the stuff that I wanted to play around with, because I think it's really easy. Maybe it's too easy, especially when social media like shows us only one side of a person's life.
Yes. A very myopic point of view.
Very myopic point of view, that it's really easy to go, oh, from the outside, their life is great.
Yep.
And then you have a moment where you start to see them as a human being and you go, oh no, wait, they have a struggle too. And I should give them a little bit of grace.
So I will say this, this is going to be one of those vague things I warned
yes.
you about earlier. I don't want to say where they end up, but I love the way their relationship evolves. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, I do too. Thank you for that.
So let's talk a little bit about Chloe. Chloe is like, I wasn't sure what to expect when she showed up, and boy, wow, that is a character. So I'll let you talk a little bit about Chloe.
I'm just going to say she was the most delicious character I've ever written.
I can imagine. It's one of those that you just love to write, right?
Oh my God, loved her. And the fun thing about her, I think her name is Chloe Hawker, and I think that is just like the perfect name for her. And Chloe Hawker is a real person. And I auctioned the name off.
I read that in the
as a benefit. As a benefit. And I had said to Chloe, I was like, what kind of character do you want me to put, the name on? Is it a good character? And she was like, have at it. And I was like, cool. She's going to be this very challenging, very difficult. And what I so enjoyed about writing Chloe was you also can feel empathy for her, but you can also go, I don't trust you. When are you telling the truth? When are you lying? What are you up to? And so creating her as this, she's not the narrator, but she becomes, what's the word I'm looking for? Not unsuspecting, unreliable. She's an unreliable character. And that was absolutely a delight to play around with. And so I really enjoyed writing her.
So when did you know Chloe had to be a part of the story and had to make her interest? Did you know that very early on, or was this something, because I know you did the contest and all of that, but was this something that you knew right away? Oh, I need a Chloe. You got to have Chloe in here.
Yeah. And I had done the contest prepared to name any of the characters Chloe Hawker. So like other than the main character, because like I knew her name. Right. So any of the characters could have ended up being her. And so the contest was unrelated to me sorting out that character. But once it was pretty early on. I knew I wanted, when we talk about character dynamics.
Yes.
Dynamics between two is one thing. Dynamics between three is exponentially more complicated.
Yep.
And so I knew I wanted a trio in that house to be more than just Cameron and Emily Grace. I wanted that third wheel that was going to throw off whatever was going on between Cameron and boy does it. I know, right? Yeah, I just loved writing her.
Great addition. I wasn't sure what to expect, and then when she came, I was like, whoa, okay. That's great. All right, Juniper, this is your moment. I want to talk about you, Juniper. I love the character Juniper a lot. She's a great sort of character that offers a very contrasting, if you will, way of understanding intuition, understanding fear. I don't want to say, you can say it. I'll let you, if you feel like you want to say what she is in the story and all of that. But I feel like her presence was pretty great. Yeah. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about unlocking that character and bringing her into the story.
Yeah, I do. I love Juniper. We all should have a Juniper in our life.
Yes.
We really should. I'm going to do my little vague moment here that you will understand what I'm talking about, which is there is a moment where she reveals some information to Emily Grace that a lot of people think is fiction, paranormal fiction. It is an event that happened to me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you and I can chat about that real quick when we're not recording anymore, because we don't want to give anything away. But there are things about Juniper that are things that I have actually experienced, but which a reader is going to go, oh, this is pure fiction. And it's not. It's actually grounded in the real world. But what I love about Juniper is that I think there's a truth that every character, good and bad, are parts of ourselves. It's how we understand the world, right? And we may not behave like our characters, but we have aspects of them in our own. And maybe it's the stuff that we fight not to let out, right? And right. And so Juniper for me is Juniper is the person I want to be. She's competent, she's capable, she's so grounded. She is content with what she has. She's not a person that's looking for more. And here we are. Part of what I love about Cameron is that he's uber wealthy and he's got this crazy giant mansion that he's now living in all by himself. And it's like he in a lot of ways, even though he's known for creating the green building construction materials and he's environmentally conscious, he's not fully living an environmentally conscious life.
Yeah.
And so he's like an aspect of that. And Juniper's going, I don't need all that. I have everything I need. I am a person living in just absolute grace. And you can't have that as a main character.
Yeah.
Because you want to see your main character struggling. But she allows for Emily Grace to have a model of how she could be in the world. And also the person who's going to help her out of a jam.
Oh, in a lot of ways.
In a lot of ways.
But I also feel like she's a very safe space for Emily as well. So I thought that was really great. And so this is where I'm going to throw back to what I was alluding to earlier. So there's a line in the book, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but if you feel like it is, I do edit my episodes, so I can take it out or I can bleep it out, whatever. But there's a line in the book that I love so much that I actually wrote it down. Oh. And so that line is, what if you can acknowledge that the pain is real and it's lifelong? And then you can live with it, but live differently than you have been. And to me, that just really, it just landed with me in such a way that I had to read it 4 or 5 times. And like I said, I wrote it down. And I'm just curious, for me, as I thought about it, was how central was that idea for you to the story that you're telling? And did it shape Emily's arc or any of the arcs, or did it reveal itself as you were writing?
No, that was, I love that you loved that line. For me, that is so much what the book's about. And I'll tell you a little story. All right, I'm going to tell you another horse story.
Okay.
Horse, not horror, horse. I realized how that sounded. Another horse story. And it really did inform for me what the book was about on that emotional level. And so here's the story. So I lose Chance. My horse's name was Chance. I lose Chance and I was devastated. I had a second horse. And I love that horse. I still have him. He's the greatest horse in the world, but I was mourning Chance. And my husband said, let's get you another horse. You don't want to have one. You got to have 2. They come in pairs. And I bought a new horse. And one of the things about Chance was he used to, when he would see me coming, he could be anywhere out in the pasture. He could be a long ways away. He would see me coming and he would run at me full tilt with this like smile on his face. And he would slide to a halt right in front of me and be like, Mom's here. Life is good. And I lost him, and I often thought about, and Jasper is a great horse. If I whistle, he'll come running, but he's not as happy and excited to see me as Chance was. Like, it just is he's a different horse. And so I thought, oh God, I'm never going to have that again. And that was really hard. So we buy my horse Radar, and we have Radar. And the first time I go to catch Radar in the pasture, he's out there with his buddies, and I don't know you. I'm not coming in. And I go out there with a halter, and you don't want to chase a horse around because that doesn't help. You want to teach them to want to come to you. And so the first time was like 40 minutes. Finally hook him up and I walk him out. So this goes on for a couple days, and it's getting a little shorter. And I show up one day and he's out in the pasture, and I think, I wonder how long it's going to take. I park in front of the stalls where I can't see him. And I come around the corner and he's waiting at the gate. And with a look on his face. And I had a moment when that happened where the grief I was still feeling over Chance moved over a little bit. And my love for Radar could fill that gap in a different way. I had this epiphany, and this was long before I ever wrote this book, of how people either endure something awful and never come out the other side. Those people who never remarry, the people who, never move out of the house where someone died, the people who are just never come back to life after something awful. And there are people who live that way. And then there are other people who grief maybe doesn't hit them that hard and they can bounce back and they're sort of okay and they move on. But I think that most of us goes through something and then we are able to move forward and find joy again and find love or find whatever it is that helps to, it doesn't make it go away, but shifts it. And that was what I was exploring in this book. And a lot of it came from that moment with Radar, where I went, okay, I've lost my heart horse. I've lost a horse that I could never replace, but I still have Jasper, who does come when I whistle. and now I had Radar waiting for me at the gate. And so that line that you said is that moment. It's that moment. And so I love that you love that line.
It's a really beautiful sentiment. It's a really beautiful sentence as well. And it really does sum up, I think, in a perfect way, anyone that's ever been through grief and has found that moment that you've described. Yeah. And I love that you describe it where it doesn't go away. It just moves over and it makes room for other things. Yeah. And I think that's so much truth in that. I just love it so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
And that's made me think about, after I finished the book, like I said, I've gone back to it a couple times, and I really started thinking about the title. The title took on such a different meaning for me. And the fact The Haunting of Emily Grace is just, it's so much more, it's deeper than I think I originally thought it was. Yeah. And I think for me, that means that this book, it walks this very careful line, right, between the psychological experience, but also this, I want to say, supernatural haunting and elements and things that are happening. And I feel like that was very intentional, but I was wondering if you could talk about that intentionality and what about creating that balance and what guided you on how to explain versus not explain, but experience.
Yeah. It's so interesting to me how this book came about in terms of publication. So first off, about the title, we couldn't land on a title. We tried all these different titles and we didn't quite like it. And my agent and my editor and I were throwing out all these titles and we weren't getting anywhere. And we were months trying to figure out a title. This is long after the book's under contract and we're working on edits. We still don't have a great title. And I had and my publisher had come to me and said, it is suspense, but we're going to put it out with paranormal and horror elements, which I hadn't thought about. Surprisingly, hadn't occurred to me. And then I was like, oh, yeah.
So happy you did.
It does have that, right? It does have that. And so I started thinking, knowing that's how we're going to market it, is there anything else that comes to me about the title? And literally, we were a day away from finalizing a title that we all liked, but it wasn't perfect. And into my head went The Haunting of Emily Grace. And I went, that's it. That's the title. Because it is all those levels. Is she being haunted by a ghost? We know she's being haunted by the past. Is she being haunted by her own mind? Is she being haunted by an outside supernatural force? And it took on all of those levels of meaning. And I sent it out. My agent and my editor were like, that's it. That's the title. We love the title. I have had some readers who pick it up expecting more of a ghost story, and it isn't a classic ghost story. And it's been interesting because some readers have said, I wanted more ghosts and I wish it had more. And I've had others who go, I picked this up thinking it was a ghost story and it turned out to be something so much more.
I'm on that side of it. Like, I was expecting, I love a good ghost story. I'm a big fan of it. Really, like, I would recommend, if you ever want to read a great haunted house ghost story, The September House by Carissa Orlando.
I'm writing that down because I love a good ghost story.
It's really fantastic. And it is one of my all-time favorite books. And
awesome.
But I was expecting that. But then again, there are elements here that do all of that. But where you ended up in this book just really landed and resonated with me in a way I did not expect. So I think I told you in the email when we were talking, I was like, I'm super excited to really talk about this book.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I love it. I love that.
So I'm a big fan. Like, you're my new best friend. Just
yay.
So I do have a question. It's my favorite question to ask everybody. And looking back at this book and looking at all the different moments, is there a moment or a sequence in the book that you're most excited for readers that haven't experienced it yet for what they are about to experience? Maybe it's not because it's shocking.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more about what it represents. I will tell you though, for me, there were so many great moments, but my favorite one, I got chills with the yellow rhododendron.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love
one.
that.
I was like, it is really great. So I'm gonna leave it at that without giving any spoilers away. But you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do, and I love that. I love that. That's a moment. That's such an interesting question. What came to mind? I think I can say. I'm not going to give anything away if I say this. When she's out on the water, sailing for the first time. That to me is such a great moment because it also reflects where she's at. So, in other words, she's moving forward, she's trying something new, there's something really wonderful about it, and it ends with something that puts her back into danger. And so I think maybe, and I used to sail. Yeah, I used to sail. I grew up in Southern California and I was never a great sailor, but I'm tall and I'm fairly substantial as a person. And there were these boat races that were you'd have 3 people and there were a lot of female teams. And oftentimes like the 2 really good sailors would be these 5 foot tall, 100-pound women, right? And then there was me. And my job would be to haul out the spinnaker, which takes a lot of upper body strength. You're out there and you're as fast as you can go. You're hauling on a rope to put that big spinnaker sail up when you're heading downwind. And so my job was I'd hop in the front, I haul out, the spinnaker would pop out. And then boats actually, you'll see them like this, but they actually are faster if they sit a little flatter. So me being twice the size of half the other 2 women in the boat, I would hop up on the high side and my weight would bring the boat down.
Yeah.
So my 2 jobs sailing were haul out the spinnaker as fast as I could and then be weight to hold the boat down. So I love to sail. I was not particularly skilled at it, but I had my jobs and I love to be on the water. And so it was fun for me to write the character who loves the water and the character who's terrified of it.
See, I would
put those 2 things together. Yeah.
I would be Emily.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit of both. I love the water, but I'm terrified of deep water. So
yeah. You are not alone. A lot of people have that fear. And I have always been incredibly comfortable on the water just from day one. I was swimming before I was walking.
I think it's open water more than deep water for me. Like I have tried, you'd never get me to scuba dive in a million years. Now I've tried snorkeling, but the moment my face goes in the water, I hear that music and you know what I'm talking about.
I do. And I've been a scuba diver. I've been a scuba diver. I've done open water. I've been in deep water. I've had close encounters with big spiky teeth and all that. And it's an environment I really love. So I wanted to invest a character with that, but it couldn't be Emily Grace. So that was really, so I'm going to go with that as my kind of moment.
And I will say, just as an aside, I think another one of my characters we didn't really talk about was Adrian. It was interesting because I never trusted him from the get. And where he ends up in the story, like
it's a surprise.
It was. I'm gonna leave it at that. So we
can
talk about when it comes up. As another great character that I really liked, and actually all of them. And I'm sorry, is it Gail? Who's the one who was running the I can't remember.
How funny that I just blanked on her name. It's not Gina.
It starts with a G though. It does start with a G.
Oh my God, this is hilarious. I have to tell you, I have a book coming out in August or September, and then I have another book I'm working on right now, and my head is so full of those characters. I literally just blanked on my own character name. But the woman who runs the bakery.
Yes, because she was another one too that
I love her.
The moment where she, Juniper, and Emily are all sitting down and she's working and she finally comes to sit down on the couch. I'm like, I can see this moment like in my mind's eye, crystal clear. If this were a movie, I'd know exactly what was happening. She's just such a great sort of like secondary character there that I just absolutely loved. She was one of those that if you're watching, if you think about the movie, 'cause I work in the film industry, so everything I read, I automatically translate to film. It's just what I do. And I could see the moment in my head. I'm like, this is a character that's probably on screen for 5 minutes the entire time, but
and you love her and you remember
all
her.
you talk about. She's just fantastic.
I felt that way too. And part of with her and with Juniper is I wanted to show that Emily Grace arrives on the island very isolated, very alone. And she finds.
I love that part too.
Yep.
So it's great. The book is called The Haunting of Emily Grace. It is, correct me if I'm wrong, available everywhere now. It's out. And as we always like to say here at Quills and Chills, please support your local bookstores whenever and wherever possible.
Yes, I second that.
Elena, tell us where our audience can find you and the book online and on social.
Fantastic. I'd love to have you follow me. So my website is ElenaTaylorAuthor.com. ElenaTaylorAuthor.com is my website. You can find links there to the book and to my socials. I'm on Instagram at Elena_Taylor AUT. I'm on Facebook as Elena.Taylor. I was like, is there an author on the end of that? I'm so used to just clicking on it. So do follow me on Instagram and Facebook and check out my website. And then I have a blog called themysteryofwriting.com. Written as all one word. themysteryofwriting.com. And I do author interviews, book reviews. Most of it is crime fiction. I do a little bit of other stuff, but most of it is crime fiction. And I work with the international thriller writers a lot, and they have a debut author program. And I try to interview all of the debut authors. So I have a lot of brand new books, brand new authors on there. And so those are the places where you can find me.
I have someone I should recommend to you, a brand new book out. I just had him on the show recently. It's a crime novel it's a supernatural crime, like a true crime story. It's very unique in how he's written this book. His name is Mark Steensland. So I'll send you his information.
Send that to me.
Check it out. It's a great book. I really enjoyed the book. Elena, thank you so much for taking
Juniper is back.
Hi, Juniper. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. I appreciate it. All the information that you gave me with your socials, the website, the blog, all of that I'll have on the video version of this, and I'll also have it in the story notes as well.
So. Great. It's been an absolute delight.
All right, you guys. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.